what we're gonna go through for the next 2 hours, I'm gonna give you bullet points, kind of the history of Semba and eventually of Kizomba. And then I'm gonna connect to what we now know, what is Kizomba, and the influence of Zouk and other genres of music. So we're gonna start the history of Semba. My name is To Costa. I'm from Angola. I'm a DJ, organizer, producer. I do everything that is related to music. I'm a dancer. Basically, I'm a DJ that dances, and I do everything else around the industry of entertainment in terms of dancing and music. I'm from Angola. In most cases, a lot of people use the nationality to give them some sort of geographical advantage. Yeah, so I'm from Angola. I was born and half raised in Angola, but I now live between London and Lisbon. The history of Semba, there's a period in time for those who want to be teachers, the piece of advice for those who want to be teachers, in order for you to understand African music and everything that is related to it, you need to understand the slavery trade. You need to understand when the Europeans arrived in Africa and how the transatlantic slavery trade took many Africans from Africa to what they call the New World. Funny enough, the European that discovered the way from Portugal to Angola, Diogo Cão, was going to India for some business, and he got lost. And unfortunately, he ended up in our shores, and the rest is history. So we have to blame the Indians for not putting good road signs in the sea. And the guy was coming to India, and he got lost, and he ended up being in Angola, which eventually then we went into the slavery trade for the next 350 years, and eventually went to colonization, and we became independent in 1975. We're quite a young country. It's only 45 years that we've been independent, and we're struggling ever since. In terms of history of Semba, Semba always been played as a traditional music. It's highly connected to Angolan Carnival. Yeah? But Semba, when it started around 1940, 45, and eventually when it became part of the classical way of playing music, before Semba was played in a traditional way. What that means is that Semba was played with traditional instruments. There was no classical instruments within Semba. The classical instrument was added in 1947, which was the classic guitar. Yeah? In order for the Portuguese to once again understand our music, because it's very hard for people to dance what we all believe, what we call now the dancing on two. If you are classic trained, for you to understand dancing on two, it feels like the person is dancing wrong. So you need to understand the rhythms of the drums in order to dance on two. Yeah, Semba is basically is married to son and rumba on the structure of the rhythm. Yeah? But when the classical instruments, the piano and the guitar or the violin is added to Semba, it was added in 1947 by a guy called Liceu Vieira Dias. And so 1947, there is this band called Ngola Ritmo. Ngola, which is Ngola, is the original name for Angola. The Portuguese came and they started calling Angola. So they were called the Ngola Ritmos. And they are the ones that used to play the traditional instruments. And then the classical guitar was added by Liceu Vieira Dias. What Vieira Dias done is he done an interpretation within the classic instrument of the traditional rhythm. And then Semba, as modern music was born. However, Semba is still very much based on Angolan Carnival. If you are into traveling, it's one of the best things for you to do. Normally people associate Brazil with Carnival, but the original Carnival tend to be in Angola, which eventually with the slavery trade went all the way to Brazil, and it is what it is. They just made it a national heritage, and it's quite big. So as I was advising before, if you want to learn more about certain rhythms, how the rhythms of the Southern Africa, the Central Africa, and the North Africa end up in the New World, then you have to read the slavery trade. It's not an easy read for those who have a sentimental and weak heart, because it's quite heavy. Slavery was not a light, how do you say, part of our history. It was very heavy, and it was very, very brutal, and it's very hard to read. But however, it gives you an insight. If you're looking for the history of music and the drums, then I advise you to read it. If you want to learn about certain books, I can advise you on certain books. Some of them are on PDF, and then you can go from there. 1947, after the end of 2 years after the World War, the world is, the Western societies is almost in collapse because of the cost of World War II. 1947, Semba, modern Semba, is born in Angola. There's nothing much happening in terms of our situation. Angola is still a colony of Portugal. Portugal had control of 5 African countries: Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, Angola, São Tomé and Príncipe, and Mozambique. I think Mozambique has a really high connection with India. There's a lot of Indians living, or Asians living in Mozambique. And if you listen to the traditional music, which you're gonna get there, if you get to Marabenta, you're gonna hear a lot of Indian influence on the traditional music from Mozambique. The food is half Indian, half African. So if you want to get great food, just go to Mozambique, full stop, and you're gonna be in heaven. You're gonna see both sides of the Asian, especially Indian culture, walking alongside the African culture, and it's such a beautiful place to go. But those are the countries that the Portuguese had control. In the case of Angola, when it came to, we tried to negotiate with them to leave our country, as you guys went through that with the British. They said they won't leave it, they won't leave the country. So 1961, we start our fight of liberation of Angola. Semba as music became important because it was a way for our artists to tell the people that we want the Portuguese to leave our country, that we want to become independent. The war for independence went from 1961 until 1975. Finally, the Portuguese were having heavy losses, and also there was a changing regime in 1974 in Portugal. For those who have been to Lisbon, there's a red bridge in Lisbon. They call it the 25th of April. 25th of April in 1974, in Portugal, there's a change of regime. The dictatorship in Portugal collapsed and the democracy is installed. So Portugal became a new democratic country. And with that, the losses on the colonies were quite heavy, and they decided to eventually grant independence to most of African countries they were controlled. So out of those 5 countries that speak Portuguese in Angola, which they are known by the acronym of PALOP, P-A-L-O-P. African countries that speak Portuguese, you're gonna hear a lot within discussion of Portuguese-speaking teachers. PALOP, 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 we are PALOP. Basically, they're just telling you that is the African country, because they are the French countries, they are the German countries, there is the British countries that speak English, and I think there's 1 or 2 that speak Spanish. I think there's only one that speaks half Spanish, which is Guinea Equatorial, which is now joining the PALOP because they want to join the Portuguese, because Spanish and Portuguese have a similarity in languages. Yeah. So by 1975, Angola is granted independence. Okay. Even though we fought for independence, as we know, by the time people become independent, it's like when you leave your parents' house, you need to pay for your own things. You need to have responsibility. You need to make decisions. Since our fight for independence in 1961 to 1975, we had three main political parties. We had the FNLA on the north. We had the MPLA, which will cover north and center, and we have UNITA, which is UNITA on the south. They're all together fighting to get rid of the Portuguese. 1974, 75, they start the negotiation with the Portuguese for Portugal to leave. When Portugal said that we have to leave, then we have the next problem. Who's gonna run the country? Yeah? Three main political parties with three different backings. The north ones, they were mainly backed by the Congo on the north, and the Belgians and some of the Europeans. The two main one, which was the MPLA, was backed by Russia. And the ones from the south were backed by the Americans. Okay? So we had a freeway, when the Portuguese left, we had a freeway war to see who controls the country. We engaged in a civil war, and the party that wanted to become a government was MPLA, which was backed by the Russian. So we became communists. Yeah? You have to remember that for those who are old enough, that the Americans were coming from the big war in Vietnam, and the Russians were coming from Afghanistan around that time, between 75 to 1980. And troops on the ground was a no-no. The Russians would not send troops to Angola, and the Americans would not send troops to Angola as well. No president would risk their political career at that time for a war. If you look at the map, Angola geographically it is part of the center and the south of Africa, as well as the east and west. So strategically, in terms of ideology, is a very important country, the same as Congo. DRC, Congo, and Angola are probably the most important countries in Africa in terms of geography, because combined, they can kind of border most of Africa. Yeah? Angola is 14 times bigger than Portugal, our colonizer. If you look on the map of Europe, Angola is bigger than Portugal, Spain, France, Belgium, and Netherlands together. Even though if you look on the map, because it was built by the colonizers, Europe looks much bigger than Africa. Yeah, it was about mind control and everything. If you look the England on the map or the UK on the map, it looks halfway of India. Yeah, in terms of size, that is all manipulation in order to make you believe that the colonizing country is huge and it has that power of being decolonized. Yeah. What happened in the case of Angola? The Russians, they sent in the Cubans. The Cubans came to Angola to defend the communist movement, and the Americans, they sent in the South Africans. Remember, the South Africa was part of the apartheid movement that used to divide blacks and whites, and they had a powerful army. So they came and support the American-backed UNITA in the south, and MPLA was backed by the Cuban. So we had a four-way war. Yeah. Eventually, the ones from the north, they were a small army. They didn't make much of a difference. Still today, they're still fighting for some sort of independence. Yeah. Excuse me. From 1975, we engaged on a civil war that lasted 27 years. Yeah? We had probably one of the longest civil wars in the world, Angola. Yeah? And so what happened when the MPLA, which was a communist Marxist movement at that time, and I still believe it is, in terms of ideology, what happened is part of those people within MPLA, they didn't want to go the communist way. They wanted to go the democratic way. So there was a partition within the party. Yeah? The younger people, the people that were connected to art, to media, and so on, the ones that knew the world better, they decided that they wanted to become a democracy. So 1977, they tried a coup d'etat. Yeah? They tried a coup d'etat that failed. And the information from Moscow or from Havana was that everybody that participated in the coup d'etat should be killed. And 1977, 27th of May, 1977, we probably have one of the darkest stories or days in Angolan history, that we're still counting the deaths. Between 10,000 to 100,000 people went missing. And the sad part of it is that up to today, not one body has been found. So you believe, you kind of tend to believe that you're dreaming that you're gonna wake up and someone will tell you something, but is somehow they managed to make it disappear. Let's say even like 30,000 people, they just disappeared. What that, apart from being sad, what that led to is the fact that it left a vacuum in Angolan culture, because a lot of people that died were connected to art. A lot of them were musicians, people that participated in our war against the Portuguese, people that used to control the masses, telling the masses what to do, dancers, musicians, singers, people connected to theater, to cinema, everything. So we had a vacuum. Yeah? And if you get to know Angolan culture or most of African culture, all we do is music and dance. Yeah? We do music and dance. You take music and dance, you might as well just kill us. So 1977, 27th of May, 1977, it felt like we had nothing. Okay? The music that we start consuming a lot of external music. One of the music that came to Angola and became really popular was the Rumba, African Rumba from Congo, which is beautiful music. It is similar on the rhythm to Rumba from Cuba, but it's different. You need to listen to it. And we also start listening to a lot of music from the Caribbean. Not Zouk, but compa from Haiti. Haiti was the first Black nation to become independent outside Africa. And they produced this music, which is called compa. And that's what we used to listen, because the compa on its rhythm is very similar to our Semba. Okay, so we had some music to breathe. But even though we were communist Marxists, we didn't like the Americans, but we were kind of allowed to listen to non-propaganda American music. Yeah, so we were not allowed to listen to music that were politically involved, but we were allowed to listen to Madonna. Yeah? So Madonna was cool. Yeah, music from Motown, it was cool. But if you say, "Oh, America is the greatest," that music is not playing in our radio. Yeah, and from Russia, which was our biggest ally, and I think it's still our biggest ally to now. We never had anything cultural. It was mainly going to study, come back. But in terms of Russia, I think we had cartoons back in the days. I think that's the only thing you can hear, because there was no voice. I think Russian cinema is not one of the strongest points of Russians. The music is borderline very Russian. And if it's violins only, we are not interested. Yeah, we want rhythm. So therefore, we will listen to a lot of Caribbean music, a lot of music from other African countries. And that's how we get to know compa. Compa became important because the person that eventually became the king of Kizomba, which is called Eduardo Paim, mixed the basics of compa to create Kizomba. So from 1977 to about 1979, when our first president died, the second president came into power, and it lasted 35 years. I think he left power about 2 years ago. Yeah. Angola was listening to a lot of international music. The army had its own band, and they started to copying a little bit of compa. Zouk was not born then. Yeah? There was no Zouk. In terms of what we now know as Zouk, there was bands like Experience Set, Tambo Combo, playing music that were more similar to compa. Yeah? 1979, there's a new format of music that comes from Angola. What we now know about those music is now what we believe is Kizomba. Yeah? Early stage of Kizomba, about 1979, 1980, 81. Okay? Eduardo Paim becomes very attached to the movement of music, and by 1982, he had a band called SOS, like the S.O.S. And that's the band that started creating, that popularized Kizomba as we know now. However, if you believe that the problems between urban and Kizomba are a problem, you have to go back to 1981, 82, where the classical Angolan people were not like, if it's not Semba, it's not playing. Yeah? And Eduardo Paim came with a new sound, and everybody like, okay, this guy is playing with our culture, we're gonna shoot him, we're gonna kill him, we don't like him. At least with urban people, we cannot threaten them. But in Angola, we're like, oh, he's killing our culture, blah, 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 blah. This is not Semba. Yeah. With some of, because he was working in the radio a lot, they called him and his band for an interview. And they were saying like, oh, your music is nice, but a lot of people are complaining that it's not Semba. So what are you doing? Someone in the band just said, look, we're not really interested in politics of it. What are we doing is Kizomba. In our traditional language, Kizomba means to party. We just want people to go and party. Yeah? Kizomba as a genre of music was born because of the guy said, we're just going to Kizomba. And then every time that we listen to music that is associated to SOS and Eduardo Paim, it was attached to Kizomba. Yeah? I don't know how, if you guys have in India the same phenomenon. We have this phenomenon in Angola or most of African countries that the first brand that arrives becomes the de facto. Yeah? I'll explain to you. I don't know if you guys heard of the toothpaste called Pepsodent. For those who are old enough, there's a toothpaste called Pepsodent. No? Yes? No? Yeah. If you heard of Pepsodent, every time you go to Angola, Pepsodent has gone bankrupt about 40 years ago, 30 years ago. That's when Pepsodent went bankrupt. I think it's 25 years ago. Yeah? But every time your mom tells you to go to buy toothpaste in Angola, she'll tell you to go buy Pepsodent. She's not telling you to buy Pepsodent, she's telling you to buy Sensodyne, Colgate, whatever. You're just gonna bring a toothpaste, but that toothpaste is not called toothpaste, it's called Pepsodent. Yeah? If you're gonna buy soda, you're gonna go and buy Fanta. And then you ask, which Fanta? Then she tell you Coca-Cola. Yeah? So the things that arrive first become a de facto in our society. Yeah? In terms of trainers, there's a brand called Kedge. I think it's coming back now again. It's called Kedge. It was the first brand of trainers that we got in Angola. So every trainers from Nike, from Adidas, blah, 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 you have Kedge. Yeah? So that is how we roll. So from the moment the guy said that we're not doing music in particular, we're just jamming. However, we just want people to be happy and have a party. And the party is mean Kizomba. From that day on, the music became Kizomba. Yeah? The music and the dancing. Because the dancing had to be adapted from Semba to Kizomba. Because there's a difference between Semba and Kizomba. For those who understand Kizomba very well and understand Semba very well, Semba, you tend to dance on two, and Kizomba, you dance on one. For those who are master of dancing on one and two, your life will be much easier if you listen that way. Semba, you dance on what people say, oh, dancing on contratempo, which is, some people say, think it's special to dance on contratempo. No, you just dance on two. Yeah? Or you dance on tempo, which is Kizomba. Okay? So what we done in Angola, we just imported the contratempo stuff, like the dancing on one and on two done in America, the LA and New York, what they done. They just bought the on two and we start dancing on one, and that became Kizomba dancing. Yeah? Because from the moment you start dancing on two, you're dancing Semba. Yeah? It's easier to explain if you visually can see, but that was the difference, because Kizomba has a traditional rhythm of dancing on one or playing on one, on four and four. So you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. With Semba, you do the odd numbers because you have to dance on two. Okay? Even though you can bring the bar of 8 to Kizomba, to Semba, yeah, if you're dancing to the traditional instruments, it's almost impossible to dance on time. You have to dance on the contratempo full time. And that's the beauty of Semba. Okay? So with Kizomba, that's what happened. I need to control time because I can't just talk for like, I have a radio in my head. Sorry. So 1983, Kizomba was born as a music and as a dance. What we need to know is Kizomba was not created. We haven't found the creator of Kizomba. What we found is the person that grabbed it and made it big, and that's Pain. So instead of we calling Pain the father of Kizomba, we agreed that Kizomba will become the king of Kizomba. The same way that Michael Jackson is the king of pop. Michael Jackson is not the creator of pop, but he is the one that made pop big. So therefore you become a king, but you not become the father. Yeah, it's in those terminology. Yeah. So 1993, Kizomba became a de facto. It became probably the biggest thing that we had in Angola. It united us. We were happy. We could dance. It became part of our carnival. It became part of our dancing. It became part of our culture. Yeah. 1994, we hear new sound coming from the Caribbean, from Martinique and Guadeloupe, via Kassav. Kassav is a band from Martinique and Guadeloupe, and if you don't know Kassav, you need to research Kassav, because Kassav has changed our life beyond anything else. So Kassav brought the sound that we now know as Zouk. Is very similar to Kizomba, very similar to compa, but it has a unique sound. It was basically, it was the full format of whatever everybody was searching. Kassav came with the answer of it. Yeah? But that was in 1984. When Kassav produced the music that now we know as Zouk, yeah, it was not called Zouk. There's a sound, there's a music that is called Zouk La Cessa Kimedwin. I'll send you the title as well. And in that sound, in that music, it said that Zouk is the only medicine that I need to survive. So Kassav bought that sound, and the word Zouk also means the same as the word Kizomba, which is to party. Okay, so those are the similarities that sometimes in the world, two things can happen exactly the same kind of phenomenon in two different parts of the world without nobody copying. Today, you say you have an idea, I can accuse you of stealing my idea because of the internet. Back in the days, for you to go from Angola to India, you have to go by boat. Yeah? 45 days. By the time you come back, your family is not there anymore. Yeah? Because it's 19 days, people think that you disappeared. So in the Caribbean island of Martinique and Guadeloupe, they had also this experience of a new sound coming on, and they didn't know what to call it. But there was a song that said that Zouk is the only medicine that I need, and to party is the only medicine I need. And it was a lovely song. And everything that became part of Kassav became called as Zouk. So 1983, Kizomba is born in Angola. 1984, Zouk is born in the Caribbean countries of Martinique and Guadeloupe. Martinique and Guadeloupe are part of France. For those who find that confusing, even though Martinique and Guadeloupe are in the Caribbean, it's part of France. You have to understand that the Europeans are the only people that have overseas territories. Yeah, as we know, India is India. That's it. When it finishes, it's finished. Yeah, Angola is Angola. When it finishes, it's finished. But the French, the British, they have land in Papua New Guinea. They have these, and Martinique and Guadeloupe are overseas territory of France. So everybody that is born in Martinique and Guadeloupe becomes a French citizen, and they still live under French laws and everything. The French president is president of Martinique and Guadeloupe, and they are the ones that came up with Zouk. Okay, what the Zouk done to not only to Angola, but also to Africa, it changed the way Angolans and most of Africans start doing music. Everybody, because of the success that Kassav had, everybody start following Kassav in terms of musicality. Yeah. However, copying is a hard business, especially if you copy something that is cultural to others. Yeah. Sorry, my computer is moving a little bit. And the Angolans or the Africans have been trying to copy Zouk for many years. And the beauty of Zouk is definitely comes from Martinique and Guadeloupe. We have to say that. However, the African sound became richer in itself. And what we now know as Kizomba, most of African people call it Afro Zouk. You hear the expression Afro Zouk a lot because of mainly for nationalistic ideas that the people from Cape Verde, from Guinea-Bissau, from Cameroon, they don't want to say, no, I don't want to do Zouk. I don't want to do Kizomba. Kizomba is from Angola. The Angolans have a big mouth. I don't want to do Kizomba. They would rather say that we do Afro Zouk. Afro Zouk is a combination of the rhythms from Caribbean and Africa and the melodies of Zouk, which is, and then you can sing on your own language. And then you have a lot of songs out there. Eduardo Paim, Kiako Kadaf, Yola Semedo, Paulo Flores, Yuri da Cunha. Everybody's doing Afro Zouk. Tabanca Jazz, Grace Evora. All these guys are doing Afro Zouk. If you go to other African countries that don't speak Portuguese, you have Petit Pays, Fode Barro, Monique Seca, Neymar, and so on. All those guys are doing Afro Zouk. So what you have is like almost the sub-Sahara Africa, because Africa is divided. The Sahara divides. Eventually, Africa becomes the forest. So the north is the Arabs, and the south is mainly the Africans, and that's the division that we have in Africa. And most of sub-Sahara Africa do have Afro Zouk, yeah, in terms of music. It's a debate that you want to have, but if you research longer, you can have debate because only the Angolans do Kizomba. Everybody else wants to prefer to be called Afro Zouk for nationalistic things. National movements are very strong in Africa. I don't want to do anything that other African people want to do. I want to fight my own identity. However, I'll be happier to copy the Europeans or the Asians or the Americans. Yeah. But if my next door neighbor does something, no. He's not coming to my country as your own. But if he goes to America and then comes back to my country, is good. Yeah, you have to understand Africans a little bit. We are funny a little bit like that, but we also have a strong nationalistic ideology. So when it came to Zouk, everybody started doing the different thing of Zouk. What people didn't have, 99% of Africa, they didn't have the dance. The dance is something that people cannot play around. The dance is ours because it comes from our Semba. Because most of people will dance on 2 steps, 1 and 2. It's only the Angolans that will do 1 and 2 and then repeat the other step again. So we do 2, 1, yeah, to go with the drums of Semba. Okay, so if you go to Angola to have a Kizomba class, your Kizomba class will probably finish in 45 minutes. Yeah? It's only that we came to Europe and Master Pechu wrote this super book explaining how to dance Kizomba in 10 years. Yeah? But in Angola, if you are born there, your class is normally less than half an hour because nobody has time to teach you Kizomba. We expect everybody to be born in those shores to know how to dance Kizomba. Yeah? The same way that you're supposed to be known how to breathe, you are supposed to be, but everybody has a class. I had a class with my sisters, and they just told me, it's twice on your left, once on your right. And it's easy. Okay? The other step, and I said, like, well, but I see you doing the other step. She said, just walk. You walk, and then you do twice on your left and once on your right. If you understand music, you cannot violate music. You understand. You dance on the rhythm, and then you dance on the classical 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you go to the Semba rhythm, which is 2-1. Yeah. So you dance on 1, and when you want to dance to our music, you go on 2. Yeah. And I see people that say, I only dance on 2, and I'm like, oh, you're missing the beauty of on 1. Oh, I only dance on 1. Oh, you're missing the beauty of on 2. Why can't you combine? Because the music sometimes goes on 1 and sometimes goes on 2. Yeah? And sometimes it goes on every single number on the world. Why can't you just follow the music? Yeah? If you follow music, then there is no rule. Yeah? As long as you don't dance, I tell people my story. I say, as long as you don't dance off tune and off beat. Yeah? If you don't dance off tune, off beat, you do whatever you want to do. It's magical. But when people put you in a box that you have to dance on 1 or on 2, I think is what puts me off learning salsa. I don't know. No, I had basic salsa with Eddie Torres. Yeah, he taught me the mambo, and that's all I know. And I think my mambo is wrong. But the debates of salsa are the same debate as Kizomba, and they just put me off. And I think a lot of people get off dancing because of the debates that we have. So with when Kassav became part of Africa, Zouk in itself became one of the identities of Africa. From 1985 to about 1992, you could not listen to anything in Africa. In sub-Saharan Africa, you listen to Zouk, and to those who are speaking Portuguese, they will listen to Kizomba. Kassav became the most important band in African history. Yeah? You could bring any artist, including Michael Jackson, to Africa, and if you put Kassav next door, Michael Jackson's concert will be empty. That's how important Kassav is up to now in Palop countries and in Africa. Wherever they go, it's a sold-out show. I don't think they ever had an empty show in Africa. If they go to the French countries, it's even worse. But in Angola, I think they go twice a year since 1985. And I think it's the only band that goes to Angola sometimes 3-4 times a year, and it's always a fight for the ticket. With that movement, the Kizomba and the Zouk go hand in hand. So our parties were controlled by Semba music. Within Semba, we had Semba Carnival, which is more traditional, and then we had the Semba with the classical that we can dance in partner dances. We could dance Kizomba, our Kizomba. We could dance Zouk, and we could dance the compa. However, with the Cuban influence in Angola, we also had a lot of salsa and bachata. Yeah? I only learned that salsa was salsa and bachata was bachata when I was about 19 years old. In Angola, we used to call every single music that came from Latin America mainly, or the Caribbean, in terms of salsa, bachata orientated, or Cuba and Puerto Rico, we used to call it plena. As a de facto again, the first vinyls that came to Angola, the record company used to be called Plena. Yeah? Like now you buy a CD, it says on the back, produced by Sony, produced by Universal, anything. So in Angola, because it came as Plena, we start calling every single salsa, bachata, merengue, and so on as Plena. Yeah? So if you listen to salsa in Angola in the 80s, 70s, they'll say like, oh, you listen to Plena. or you have that plena by Celia Cruz, or you have that plena by Tito Puentes, or you have a plena by Aventura. Yeah? There was no salsa, there was no bachata. It's only now that we're getting educated that we know that there was bachata, there's salsa, there's cumbia, there was merengue, and now it's even more difficult because there's salsa on one, salsa on two. It's just complicating our heads. But back in the days, it was only plena for us. So we used to dance plena, Kizomba, Semba, and then we used to dance the Rumba, our Rumba, which was based on Semba steps. And then we used to dance pop from the Motown, and then a few other songs. Yeah. And that was part of our culture in terms of partying. Around 1989, a new movement of people came around, including myself. When I started DJing, DJs, how's the format that I keep telling people? I'm a DJ because I cannot sing. Yeah? If I could sing, I would be a singer. Yeah? DJs have a hard life. Yeah? Because you cannot DJ, you become a teacher. Yeah? If you have the skills of being a DJ, you might as well just be a DJ. If you cannot teach, then you become a dancer. That's it. That's the format. If you don't become if you cannot dance, you become a hater. You say, I hate Kizomba, I hate Salsa, I hate bachata. And that's the format. I became a DJ because if I sing here, the class will finish. I cannot sing to save my life. You put a gun in my head, say, sing any song, you're gonna kill me. I cannot sing. I can DJ. Yeah? And with that movement that came around 19 to about 1992, it came the movement that we call the Tarashinha movement. Yeah? What was Tarashinha? Tarashinha was instrumentals created by DJs that could not sing. Yeah? What we used to do, we used to go to the room, get, by that time, I think it was 91, Korg produced a keyboard that you could program music within it. I think it was called Trinity. Trinity was a keyboard that you could program everything. It was like a mini computer. You could do everything in it. Yeah? It was like some sort of old Mac. Yeah, you could do everything. You had your own studio with the Trinity. And what we used to produce, because we used to work in clubs, we could produce beats that people were just dancing on it. And because we cannot sing, we could put samples, or we could do animation while the music is playing. You could say certain things on the music and people like it. But there was no dancing with it. Yeah? The dancing was again imported from the 70s and early 70s, and we call it Tarashinha. Tarashinha in our colloquial speaking terms is the earring, the back of the ear. You put a rubber there or something to hold the ears so it doesn't fall. Because you screw it, yeah, that means you tarasha. That's why tarasha is, yeah. I'll explain to you, is the earring that you put in the front and then you put something on the back to hold it. That is called a tarasha. Yeah? And because you screw it, then you tarasha. Tarasha is mainly to screw it in a dancing way. Yeah? Screw it in England is a different thing. Yeah? Terminology is, yeah. But in terms of, is the tarasha. What my parents used to call it in the 70s, they used to call it charro charro. Tarasha in the 70s were called charro charro. Charro charro, why? Because you know the Cuban cigars, yeah? Before you smoke it, or when they do it, they put in the middle and they do that, yeah? So you screw it as well. So that was my parents' generation. They said like, okay, we're gonna do charro charro, okay? So if a woman or a man come to you and say like, I want to do tarashinha to you, it's like, I'm going to squeeze you and then I'm going to smoke you. Yeah? 20 years after, it came back as tarashinha. songs by DJs with only samples. DJs could not sing. Yeah. A new movement of DJs came along, like Joca Moreno, DJ Cobanito, DJ Mania. They became what we now know as DJ producers. Chico Viegas, DJ Malvado, myself, DJ Znobia that came up with the Kuduro remixes and lot of Tarashian remixes. And a new movement was born. However, from 1990, Zouk started becoming slower in terms of music. When Zouk came around in 1983, the average BPM was 120. Yeah. And so was Kizomba. Kizomba was 120 BPM, and so was Zouk. Yeah. From 1985 to 90, the BPM dropped to about 80 or 90. Yeah. To accommodate the dance, like the influence of Motown, the lovers rock, people trying to dance in partner, dancing slow. There was a lot of influence, and Zouk became a bit slower. Kizomba became super slower, and then Zouk love was born also. Tarashian was born in Palop-speaking countries, mainly Angola, and Ghetto Zouk was also born in France and Martinique and Guadeloupe. Especially, lot of Ghetto Zouk, lot of Zouk love singers were trying to cope the new movement of hip hop and R&B. Yeah? So people were dancing the partner dance slower. So Zouk and Kizomba were much faster within Semba. So what people say like, oh, this is, I'm not here to sweat. You're gonna slow down this dance. Yeah. So the people start dancing everything into Tarashinha or Sharo Sharo. So what the musicians done, once again, they followed the dancers and they created the music to dance on it. By 92, everybody was dancing Tarashinha on everything. You could play anything in your life. You're there with your partner, you do Tarashinha. You don't want to sweat. Yeah. When we go clubbing, we have this tradition. When we go clubbing, we go like you go into the office. Everybody wears a tie. There's this. We go clubbing super smart. Yeah. And you don't want to sweat. Yeah. You have to remember that the weather in India, I think we are very opposite to each other. It's just you guys are on the other side of Africa. But if you look at the equator, we're on the same level. We want to party, but we don't want to sweat. Sweating is a no-no. Yeah. So the slower you dance, the better for you. Yeah. And our clubs were open air because we have this tradition of dancing on our backyards. Yeah. We don't have this thing like, oh, you were born on Monday and your party is on Saturday. No, we party, your birthday is on Monday, our party is on Monday. And that goes for every, so if you go to Angola and you know a lot of people, you can party every day. Yeah. Going a bit off topic, I'm gonna go back to the dancing. When our civil war ended and we went to the IMF to ask for money, and they said, we cannot give you money because you guys have a problem. You guys don't come to work at 8 o'clock in the morning. We don't know how Angola can repay the debt that we can lend you the money. That was mainly because people go to parties every day. They go home by 5 and they get start arriving at work at 12 o'clock. Yeah. And then by 2 o'clock, they go out for lunch and they come back at 4 and they finish at 6. So we have a country that is very hard to survive if you lend us money. We will pay you back. It's okay. We will pay you back, but it's very hard to find ways of paying you back. We have oil, so we pay you through the oil, not through everything else. Yeah, through our hard work. So 1992, there's a big movement of Africans going to Lisbon, to Portugal, looking for better ways of life, for going to Faro, to Lisbon, and to Porto, looking for better ways of life. Remember that Angola was still on a civil war, Mozambique still in a civil war. the economies of Guinea-Bissau and São Tomé are almost collapsed because of bad management, and Cape Verde is trying to manage. Yeah, so Portugal gets a lot of gets a lot of money from the European Union to rebuild the country, the infrastructures. So they start allowing a lot of Africans to come to Portugal to work within the construction sites. Yeah. One thing that we do when we migrate, and it's something that perhaps people took time to understand with slavery and the slavery trade, if you have to migrate, the only thing that you take with you is your way of living, i.e. your culture. Yeah? So we went to Portugal, what we took with us was our dance and our music. Yeah? When we got there, we start having lot of clubs, and then people mistakenly, they start saying that Lisbon is the capital of Kizomba. I still don't believe so. The capital of Kizomba is Luanda, and that's full stop. We cannot have the capital of everything in the world has to be in Europe. Even Europe sometimes has 2 or 3 capitals. They have the capital of the country, they have the capital of chocolate, they don't produce any cocoa, yet they are the biggest producers of chocolate. Yeah? The best chocolate is for Belgium and Switzerland. There's not one cocoa in Belgium and yeah. The best tea in the world is from England. There's no one tea tree in England. Yeah? So it comes from India, it's packed and repacked, and they put England on top and they sell it. Yeah? So there's a big discussion with whether Lisbon is the capital of Kizomba, and we're trying to say, okay, it's fine, it's okay. Lisbon is just the capital of Portugal. What about that? It's fine. Yeah? The capital of Kizomba is Luanda. That's where the people from the shanty towns of Angola, they create every single new step that comes with it. They create the new music. The whole energy comes from our shanty town, not even from the cities. It's the poor that produce the energy that becomes eventually the factor for the year. Our dance comes mainly from the carnival. Carnival happens in February. And from there on, all the steps of the music, all the music goes to the rest of the world. Is reach India, China, Russia, America. But we have to still give credit to those who create the dance and the energy that comes with the Kizomba movement. So around 1994, a new movement is created within the Portuguese-speaking country, which I mentioned before, the PALOP. People like Nelson Freitas and Johnny Ramos, Mika Mendes, from around 1990 to 92 or 93, they tried to follow the hip-hop movement in America. However, the Portuguese-speaking Africans, they were not ready to listen to Portuguese-speaking hip-hop. No, the hip-hop was fine, it was nice, but we preferred to listen to American hip-hop that we could not understand. Yeah? So we would rather listen to Tupac for 5 hours and don't understand anything he's saying, instead of listening to Nelson Freitas, which is rapping in Portuguese or Creole, and we could understand him. Once again, the ideology of nationalism playing around. Why would I listen to Nelson Freitas? He's from Cape Verde. Why would I listen to another rapper from the PALOP speaking country? He's from Mozambique. No, I would rather listen to Tupac and B.I.G. and don't understand anything. At least it makes me look cool. Yeah, and he's American. And I can give you different reasons why people listen to it. Around 94, that movement failed to gain momentum, and that movement will kind of shift the creation to what we now as Ghetto Zouk. So Ghetto Zouk was a mix of hip hop, R&B kind of music with Zouk melody. It was it's credited to Johnny Ramos, which is Nelson Freitas' uncle. And that was part of a project that the elders from Cape Verde invited the younger generation. They said, like, okay, you guys are doing hip hop, it's not really working. Why don't we do a project together? And that project came around 1994, and I think it's called Mobase. more bass, which is a combination. So you can see there's Nelson Freitas, there's Johnny Ramos, but on the other side, there's also people like Grace Evora and the other generation. And they created this album, which is a classic, yeah, which is a classic, and it has the new variation of music, which eventually became known as Ghetto Zouk. Yeah. We, in order for you to understand that movement, you also have to understand Cape Verde. Cape Verde is an archipelago, is a group of islands in the middle of the Atlantic. It's very small, but it's one of the smallest places in the world that produces a huge amount of music. And they have a tendency of migrating more than most of Africans. So if you go to Boston, majority of people that live in Boston are from Cape Verde. If you go to Rotterdam and Amsterdam in Holland, there's a lot of them in Portugal, there's a lot of them in Angola. And what they do is they produce music. I think the biggest export to date is Cesara Evora. If you listen to Cesara Evora, you understand the music from Cape Verde, which is traditional music, is called Morna. And those movements, they went and expanded. So even though Ghetto Zouk is attributed to be a Cape Verde creation, it was created by Cape Verdeans living in Rotterdam. Yeah. And the movement of Ghetto Zouk in Rotterdam had a big fight with the movement of Ghetto Zouk in Boston. So the Cape Verdeans in Boston, they believe that they're better singers than the Cape Verdeans in Rotterdam and in Holland. So from 1994 to about 2000, we had probably one of the biggest fight between people that love each other, but they just believe they're better than each other, and they produced probably the most amazing music in our history, because there was just one who produced our music on Monday, the other one who will respond on Tuesday, the other one who will respond on Wednesday, and they just produced music in such a way that from 1994 to about 2000, all we could listen to in Angolan clubs was mainly Cape Verdean music, about 70%, 20% Zouk, and 10% Angola music, because the Angolans, throughout the 90s, we also created Kuduro. Yeah. So Kuduro it was an Angolan creation. It came from a movie by Jean-Claude Van Damme, which is start dancing. I put the title of the movie later, and there's a part that Van Damme is drunk and he start dancing. And when it turns around, he's dancing. And of course, Jean-Claude Van Damme at those times was like a very fit man. And when he was dancing, he was like Kuduro translate to a hard ass. Yeah. So when he was dancing, the Angolans saw that, and a dance was born without the music, and then the music was created in order to accommodate the dance, and Kuduro was born. So by 1995, if you were in Angolan party, you would dance Semba, music from Cape Verde, Zouk, Kuduro, and pop. Yeah, Afro Zouk, Afro house in those days was not. So we listen to a lot of house from Chicago, a lot of electronic music, and some music from different parts of the world. In terms of identity, we, as people, it's very unusual for people to say that we discriminate, because if it sounds good and it has a 1 and it has a 5, we will embrace it. Yeah, we will take away from you, we'll make it our own way. By the time you come to listen to it again, you will not believe it was yours at the first place. We Angolans are very good at getting something original, transform it through our Semba, and give it back to you in a different way. Yeah, it's not like the Chinese. The Chinese do a exact copy. Yeah, you take them a Mac computer, they'll give you 1,000 of Mac computers. In Angolans, you give them a Mac, probably you're gonna get a car that looks like a Mac on the back. Yeah, but it's just that that's what we do. Okay, so we saw Jean-Claude Van Damme dancing, and when we transformed, by the time Jean-Claude Van Damme came to Angola and saw people dancing, was like, that doesn't look like what I done. But when they showed him, okay, this is what we done with it, then he could see, okay, yeah, this is my thing. You guys stole my thing. No. We enhanced your thing. It's a totally different movement. Okay, so from 1980 to about 2000, we went from having Kizomba to Zouk to Afro Zouk, having Kuduro, Ghetto Zouk, and Tarashinga. Yeah. Eventually, we had a little bit of a oops, and urbankiz came around. Yeah. I will not have a debate about urban and Kizomba because it's still a field that we're still studying. And for example, Master Pichu, which is here, he's gonna look at me. He believes that urban comes from Kizomba. I don't. So we have debates that if you guys are part of our debate, you're probably gonna think that he's trying to kill me or I'm gonna kill him. But we have heated debates about that because I see more than just Kizomba in urban. It's not that I don't like it. Most of people tend to believe that I hate urban. I don't hate any form of art. Yeah, if it's art, it's beautiful. It's dancing. If it makes one person happy in this world, so be it. Yeah, I'm not one to save the world. I'm here to save one. Yeah? If I can save one, if I can go to a night and I make one person happy, my job is done. However, I'm a defender of, I prefer culture appreciation instead of culture appropriation. Yeah? And I need to defend where my culture, when people talk about my culture. And this is sometimes you have an opinion and you have a voice, people tend to judge you in a negative way. I'm not here to justify my opinion on it, but I don't think urban itself has a higher percentage of Kizomba or Semba to justify the connection of being urban keys. Yeah? It could be anything else. I think it would make more sense if they call it urban Zouk, because it will be totally French, totally made in France, totally danced by the French mostly, and it will just be beautiful. Yeah, I still think it's beautiful. However, I don't agree with the connection with Kizomba because I can see bachata, I can see tango, I can see salsa, I can see everything else. So I think urban is just one of those things that combines everything beautifully, and it's just beautiful to watch, even though 70% of the people don't know what they're doing. But the ones that can dance like the Curtis, the Moon, the Enas, some of the teachers, when they're dancing, it makes sense. Yeah? It's beautiful to watch and it makes sense. The rest, it seems like if you don't know how to dance salsa, like me, or bachata, or kizomba, or samba, you go to urban, you will survive. Yeah? And if anybody tells you that you cannot dance, you just say like, you are a hater. It's fine. You're just hating me because I can dance off timing and you can't. Yeah? And since I was raised in England, I learned this expression that the English have, which is to balter. I only learned this expression about 4 years ago. To balter is to dance expressively and happy within the music without following any rhythm. And you can do that. And the British are expert in moving. They're always happy. They're moving, and you think like they listen to the same music as me because they just don't follow any rhythm. They just move to the music. And it's called to balter. It's a new word in the English dictionary, and I love it. It's beautiful. It just allows me to explain when people are dancing off beat and off tune, yet they're happy. If they're happy, do your thing. Okay. And since then, we became what the Kizomba world is. I joined the Kizomba world about 10 years ago. I've been a DJ since about 92, 93. That's when I became a professional DJ. Before I used to play in my bedroom and play in friends' room. And I've been part of this lovely movement. And the aim was to make Kizomba mainstream. We achieved in some countries, but worldwide, we can say that Kizomba had a lovely journey. And we started with going to festivals, salsa festivals, and having a little room. And today we have our own room. In terms of people like myself, we have to give credit to Robert White and Jim White in the UK, which they do the Mambo City 5-star. They gave us an opportunity to play in a room, me and Ugo Boss, eventually when Ugo and Carlos King, and we started expansion of Kizomba into festivals. Within the movement, there was like some festivals that started earlier. There was a swimming festival in France, like festival, the Warsaw Kizomba festival. Those are these festivals that started the whole movement of Kizomba. In terms of people that brought Kizomba to mainstream, I think in terms of dancing, Master Pechu is the master. There is, is he hearing me? Because when I talk about him, he tends to cry. But I think he's so perfect in his dancing and his understanding of our culture that if one day he's not here, I think it will take about 30 To Costas to replace one Master Pechu. And I think credit is due to him on the cultural side for what he does. And he single-handed took Kizomba from our backyards into the dance floors everywhere in the world. And it's like our editors. I think it is a little better than editors because editors doesn't do Semba. That's his only fault. Yeah, but Master Pechu does a bit of salsa, so he has an advantage. But it's in terms of music, we're still trying. I produce music. There's a lot of great singers. For those who want to understand the music that comes from the Palop-speaking countries, you have to understand Marabenta from Mozambique, which is beautiful. If you listen to it, you're going to see a lot of Indian influence. In Angola, it's mainly Semba and Kizomba, even though we have other styles. People now are paying attention to Semba Carnival. In São Tomé and Príncipe, you have to understand Puita, and then they do the Afro Zouk. Guinea-Bissau, you have Tina, which is a beautiful sound, and it's off tempo as well, it's like the rumba. And then you have Ngumbe. Ngumbe has a lot of connection with America. However, is also connected to that part of Africa. And then you have Cape Verde, which produces Funana, Coladera, Morna, San John. Cape Verde just produces an amazing talent of music. And then we cannot ignore Portugal as the colonizer, yeah? Which is where we all come together. In the summer, we all tend to meet, not this summer because of COVID, but summertime, those who can afford it tend to come to Portugal, and we just share a cultural experience that is probably bigger than anything else. Yeah. On the outside, we have Brazil, which is also a Portuguese-speaking country, and is also a very powerful cultural powerhouse. And in terms of language, if you speak Portuguese, in terms of dancing and music, you are set for life.